today is Monday, August 22nd. The year is 2022. And I'm with Tommie Jackson, who's a friend of mine I've known since the early 90s. I think we met 92, 93.
92.
1992. He used to live in Michigan, Ohio, California, Los Angeles,
Texas. A little bit of everywhere.
Been in Atlanta for the past decade.
I moved here in 92, left in 94 for Detroit, moved back in 2008.
You came back in 2008?
Yeah, that's when I became an HIV activist.
Okay. So, you found out in Detroit
that I was HIV positive?
Yeah.
Yes, I found out when I lived in Detroit, roughly right around 2001 was when I actually found out. And I found out because I got sick.
You got sick, you were at work.
I was at work. I worked for a Ford Motor Company at the time.
On the assembly line, you were building cars.
Yeah, but I worked in machining, so it was a little more involved than that. It entailed more of a, if I could describe it one way, it was like working in a laboratory. We built the brain to the transmission, and it was an environment where I had to inspect. It was more of an inspection job.
Did you like the job?
It was nice. It was a good income. Let's put it that way.
Okay, but it was like working for Ford.
I enjoyed the money, the ability to sustain a particular lifestyle was what.
All right. So before we go into your HIV status and all that stuff, give me the background. You went to school?
Yeah, I graduated from Kent State with a degree in communications and marketing.
Kent State?
Kent, Ohio, in 1988.
And what was the degree in?
Communications.
Okay.
Yep. And then I left Kent, moved to Los Angeles. I had pursued an acting career at that time.
Didn't you say you were roommates at one point with
Jada Pinkett Smith?
Y'all were roommates.
Yes, we were.
Same house. How was your friendship with her?
Now or then?
Then.
It was fun. It was cordial. I knew her through her aunt, basically. Her aunt and I, it was a funny story. She and I were up for the same job, and it was down to out of thousands of applicants, the last two people called in was she and I. And she ended up getting the job. And we became friends through that process, but something happened where she got fired. So that
this was Jada Pinkett's aunt.
Yeah, and then they ended up calling me. So we had a big laugh about that. But anyway, that's how I met Jada, was through her aunt.
Okay, how did you become roommates, you and Jada Pinkett?
Through the aunt.
Oh, through the aunt, okay.
The aunt and Jada lived together. I moved in with the aunt.
Ah, gotcha.
And sublet a room from the aunt.
Okay.
And then Jada happened to go to Baltimore High School for performing arts. And when she graduated, she moved to Los Angeles, and she just happened to move in with us.
So she was very young. You said graduated. She
just graduated. She just graduated from high school for the most part.
Gotcha.
And I didn't know her well. I knew her, via living in that space for a bit of time. But I think I was there for maybe about a year. I knew Jada.
Okay. She was out there pursuing acting, and you were pursuing acting.
Right. As a matter of fact, the year she got the contract with A Different World is when I actually left. And got my own place.
Gotcha. Okay.
But we kept in touch. I still keep in touch with her aunt. I don't necessarily keep in touch with Jada so much because again, I met her through her aunt.
But you all, would you say you were friends?
Yeah, we were cordial. We were friends. We hung out and did things, and I mean, we were in each other's immediate space.
You live in Los Angeles. At one point in time, you used to do hair.
Yeah, I did hair. I did hair for about 10 years. I worked for a company in Ohio for about 10 years, and through college I did hair. So
when you graduated, when did you move to Los Angeles?
In 88, right after college.
Okay, so you moved in 88.
I graduated from college in 88. The same year I graduated from college, I moved to Los Angeles.
Right, so I moved to Atlanta in 1989. So that was, you were moving to Los Angeles.
I was in LA from 88 to 92. I left the day of the riots, with the Rodney King riots. I couldn't take it anymore. It was like Armageddon. I had to get the hell up out of Los Angeles. So I left LA and I moved to Atlanta in 92.
And what made you decide upon coming to Atlanta?
It was time to leave LA. I just couldn't. It was just LA is a beautiful place to be. And it's not for everybody. I had just lived my time there. It was time to go.
Did you have any issues out there?
I wouldn't say any issues. No, I mean,
You were working, everything's fine.
Yeah,
It's in your
I-
acting career.
yeah, I was pursuing acting. Now, part of the problem with my acting career, me personally, I had to struggle with my sexuality for years.
So you hadn't even dealt with that at that point.
I had been in a full-fledged relationship with a female for about 5 years. We were engaged to be married, and she had moved to LA with me.
So
Yeah.
that's what happened. So you
Yeah, and I literally sabotaged my own career because this was pre-Ellen days, Ellen DeGeneres days.
Yeah.
I literally was terrified of being outed, and now that I'm 60 years old, I do not have the same fears I had then.
So this was 30 plus years ago?
Oh God, yes,
So
without a
you
doubt.
were in your
Yeah,
late 20s?
I was 25.
25, okay.
Yeah, and I was struggling. I was seriously struggling. So for me to go on auditions and different things of that nature, it just it crippled me, and I allowed the fear to take over, and that is what halted my career. I was around a lot of the shakers and movers of that time, like Martin Lawrence and the Wayans brothers, because Tisha Campbell and all these. Not to drop names, but they were
big people
they were around me
But
because
the careers were all just starting too. At
exactly.
That point.
You have to understand Hollywood in itself is a small cosmic.
I can imagine. I've been out there.
Yeah, it's the Hollywood machine is a small machine. It's not really as big as people think it is because they see everything globally.
Especially when you're doing the black folks.
Right, and then you have the black Hollywood piece. So with that being said, my world was a small world with these people in it, coming and going. I didn't know them, let's say, to be friendly and break bread with on a daily basis, but they were in my immediate world and my immediate space from time to time. So yeah, I had the opportunity to actually have had made it. I could have made it if I had stayed focused and clear-minded and not be so fearful of my sexuality.
So when you left Los Angeles, you came to Atlanta. Well, how did you end up in Atlanta? Why Atlanta?
I had friends here, and it was just a time. I was working for Cool Cigarettes as account exec, and I used to go into stores and service the account. And that job, they ended up letting me go for some reason or another. I don't know if they were downsizing or what, but they never really gave any reason. I just didn't work there any longer. So I had an opportunity to seek other employment. So I said, you know what, I might as well leave and try Atlanta. And at the time, Atlanta was kind of up and coming. It was right before the music industry hit here. I got here, and once I got here, it was really strange because I started running into people here that I was affiliated with in the music industry there
In Los Angeles.
Yeah, in Los Angeles, and I could tell. I said, you know what, this is going to be a big spot for music here soon because a lot of my friends who were dancers, a couple of people I dated that danced for Janet Jackson. We ended up coming here.
You said at that time there was a lot going on here.
It was a lot going on.
It was.
92 here was like the birth of that whole.
Man. LA Face and
LA Reid and Babyface and
Pebbles, the whole
everybody.
Here.
Yeah.
It was a big to do. You get to Atlanta and what happened?
Well,
you didn't stay here too long.
I was here from 92 to 94. Let me see.
That's just 2 years.
Yeah, that during that time I ended.
So we met as soon as you touched down here then.
You know what? I think I met you when I came for a visit. I came to visit here once. A friend of mine and I came to visit. I don't know if you remember Mitchell. He and I came to visit once, and I met Javier and Harry, and then I met you. I think that time, and then some way. So I don't remember exactly how we met, but we ended up.
Was it at my house at a house party?
I don't remember. I really don't.
I used to throw some parties, pool parties back in the day. Now let me come from parties.
Well, we used to throw the parties together. We did a lot of parties together. That was our relationship was kind of cemented before a lot of the parties that you used to do because you had the house over in Stone Mountain. At the very first part, I had a roommate, Nisi and Crystal.
Right. So I can't remember.
We had a party at that house too in Stone Mountain.
Yeah. We had a bunch of parties.
But I don't remember how we met exactly. But at any rate, it was around that time period. I think we met about a year prior to 92. And then once I moved here, that's when our friendship kind of took off from there. But long story short, I ended up getting here. I ended up working for Luster's Products. Luster's Products, for those of you who do not know, is the pink oil moisturizer people that your grandmother used to use.
Yeah, the S-Curl.
S-Curl, all that whole product. I was a rep for them, being that I had a license for doing hair.
So when were you doing hair? Because I'm too confused.
I did hair from
Were you doing hair in Los Angeles?
No, I didn't really do a lot of hair in Los Angeles. I didn't do a lot of hair in Los Angeles, no.
But you did hair in Atlanta?
I did hair. I worked for a salon in Atlanta for a short period of time, and then I got a rep's job.
Okay.
With Lustrous Products. Then.
So you had a beautician's license?
I still have a license.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I sure do.
Okay.
But I did hair primarily for 10 years, standing behind a chair in Ohio. I got my license in Texas in 82. And I worked from 82 to about 88.
Okay.
Doing hair.
Okay. So you lived in Texas?
I did live in Texas for a year. I went to school there. I went to school and got my license for cosmetology.
Okay, before you went to college?
Well, I was in college in 81 when I graduated from high school. And right after high school, I went straight to college. And just wasn't for me at that time. Okay. So I went back in 85 and graduated in 88.
You got an interesting story about you and Oprah.
Oh, yeah, Oprah. I met Miss Winfrey. It's so funny. My path has crossed so many lives. I really want to write a book and call it Other People's Lives and just tell stories that I encountered. She was my keynote speaker. I was class president in college.
Okay.
And she spoke as a keynote speaker. We brought her down to do the keynote speaking for my inauguration into the undergraduate student senate. So I had an opportunity to meet her and Gail. I met Gail and Stedman.
Okay, and what year do you think that was?
Oh God, that was 80. I got back to school in 85. It was between 85 and 86.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because I ran for class president. I ran for student government and won all 3 years. I won 86, 87, and 88.
Did you like Oprah?
Yes, she's interesting. She's you can see why she's Oprah. I gave her my resume and inquired about doing an internship after graduating. We talked about it, and she was very opening and receiving. She's a kind heart, kind soul. Mm-hmm. She's the real deal. She's who you see is who she is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So back to Atlanta. You get to Atlanta. You hang out here for a couple of years. And then how'd you end up at Ford?
Well, that's a long story. What happened was, and I'm gonna tell y'all, but don't tell nobody, okay? I got hooked on drugs, and I've always had an alcohol problem. I've recently been sober here for probably about a good 4 months. I'm on a medication, by the way. I'll speak more about that a little later. It's helping me to stay sober.
So you said the drinking started.
The drinking started.
Life?
Yeah, I was drinking. I've been drinking since I was about 8 years old. I come from a family of alcoholism, and alcoholics. My grandparents, my father, my mother, fortunately, was not. Thank God, she was my saving grace. She's the one that pulled me out of Atlanta. She saw that I was running rampant, that I did not have my morals in check. I wasn't myself. I wasn't making proper decisions because I was under the influence of cocaine and alcohol. So
when did that start?
The cocaine pretty much started. I would say like 85ish, 86.
So you were in Los Angeles,
like college. From college, I had a friend in college who was very wealthy, and he had owned his own plane, and he was a drug dealer. And I'm not gonna mention any names, but for my birthday one day, he comes in and has this briefcase full of cocaine. I mean, that was my life. And he said, "Here, this is for you." I'm like, wow. So it really started big in college, probably 85 through 88, and then out in Los Angeles.
That a lot of the people you hung around, people that you knew, also on cocaine.
Oh, absolutely. Alcohol, drugs, all those types of substances are definitely the first thing that I would tell anybody who's trying to abstain is to change your lifestyle and change your company.
And when you left Los Angeles, were you having issues with this?
Oh, absolutely. It got worse.
Part of the reason why you left
exactly.
Los Angeles?
Yes, that's a large reason why I left. And then I only left. See, what I didn't realize is leaving a situation only exasperates it because you take it with you.
You just change your address.
You just change your address. You're taking it with you. So until you fix the problem, it's going to consistently follow you.
You left Ohio. Went to Los Angeles, stayed there a couple of years, came to Atlanta, stayed there a couple of years, then you ended up where?
My mother was a vice president for Ford Motor Company, so she ended up calling me and told me to come to Michigan because she was going to get me a job with Ford. So that's what I did. left Atlanta, got to Detroit, started working for Ford, and worked there for about 15 years.
You had never lived in Detroit before when you
have never lived there, but my family is from there.
Okay, so you have family in Detroit.
I still have family there,
Okay.
and my immediate family is still in Ohio, but my mother and her brothers were born and raised in Detroit and moved to Ohio the year I was born.
Did you like living in Detroit? Because you were there for a minute.
Yeah, it was Detroit. I mean, it's relative to any place else. Home is where, in my opinion, is where you make it. Detroit is on the up and coming right now. It has its challenges. It's not my favorite city.
I used to visit Tommie in Detroit, and I would drive from Atlanta to Detroit. We'd go hang out. Where we used to take the clubs up. I would drive literally nonstop. When you get there, you get dressed, you be at work, get off from work, get dressed, and we head to the club.
Yeah, those were the days.
Detroit there was Heavens. I can't remember all those. I don't know.
The Woodward Heavens.
Oh, yeah, the Woodward.
The Purple Door, Club 1X. Club 1X.
Oh, I love 1X.
1X was featured on Vibe magazine at one time.
1X was really. I actually liked visiting Detroit. I couldn't live there because Tommie's mom had also helped me get a job there for about it. I showed up there in the dead of winter. And I flew up there that time.
So I was always winter in Detroit.
Oh my God, it was terrible. It was cold.
Yeah, I think that was your decision making piece.
I said, you know what? I'm not ready to leave Atlanta to go to Detroit, Michigan. And back then, Detroit was rough.
Yeah, it still is rough. You go past a certain
really rough.
You go past
when shit downtown Detroit. I used to stay at that old raggedy hotel downtown Detroit. It was a weird hotel. I used to love staying in there for some odd reason, but it was nothing downtown Detroit. And then you had an apartment kind of far out a couple places. Yeah. One place you had a couple nice apartments, though, I will say that. There were some nice apartments.
Well, I lived out closer to the job because I worked in Sterling Heights, Michigan, and lived in Warren, Michigan. Then I ended up buying a house in Rosedale Park, so I've been all over Detroit. Yeah, now, I remember that little flat I had.
One of them was really nice.
I had the flat. Yeah, I had that flat. I wish I had bought that thing. Oh my God, they were going to sell that flat for like $25,000, and right now it's
cheap in Detroit back then.
Baby, when I tell you now, it's right over there by Wayne State. I'm sure it's got to be over $500,000.
I remember that place because you had the.
I was upstairs.
Yeah, it was upstairs, and
the hardwood floors.
Yeah,
and it had exposed brick.
Right, it was 2 stories.
Well, no. I had someone living under me. It was a
right. But I remember
a 2
the
family.
girl came there, and we went up.
Oh, I did have an attic area that wasn't finished.
Area.
Yep, I sure did. I wish I would have bought that place.
It was nice.
Ooh, I wish I would have bought that place. I see there it goes. I
but we
strung out on
the
drugs.
attic and did something up in the attic. I can't remember why we were.
I think I just showed it to you. No, I had that patio, that big, huge patio that ran the length of the.
Did you stay there for a while?
Yeah, I was there for a while until I bought that house.
Yeah, yeah. I remember the New York came to visit.
Yeah.
So, in the midst of Detroit, you get at work at Ford. You live in life. You're drinking, partying, drugs, whatever. You get sick.
Oh, okay. We're going to talk about that. All right. Well,
I'm just curious what led up to, because I don't know. I wasn't there in Detroit.
So
I was visiting.
You're looking for a timeline. So basically, right around that same time when I get to Detroit in '94, probably close to. My mother died in 2001. She took her last breath in my arms, and it was a really devastating period. I went through I call them life's lessons, but it was definitely a lesson.
You think that at 2001, your mom's death, it kind of spiraled into a situation that led to your status?
No, my status was what it was. I just didn't know it. Her death only, her death had nothing to do with it.
So you you didn't know?
I wasn't testing at all.
Okay.
Her death had nothing to do with it. It was just coincidence that timing came about because she had no idea. I didn't know at the time, so I didn't have the knowledge to even tell her. So she died without knowing.
Gotcha.
So,
but did you, before she died, you didn't know?
I did not know. It was
so
like.
What makes you think that you were dealing with that issue then?
Because of my knowledge of how I know how HIV works.
Okay.
Because I know how long it takes the body to break down. I've been doing research since I become positive, and since I recognize that I've been positive, and since I've been on medication, I had to do my own research and figure it all out.
In Detroit, back to the timeline, you found out you were positive when?
2001.
Okay, 2001.
That was the first time I found out. But I had been sick prior to that, obviously, because I was probably, to be quite honest with you, when I look back, I think I know who infected me, and I think the time period was right before I moved to Detroit. It was a person who I had relationships with here in Atlanta. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And the funny story is because I saw him, I left, and I saw him bartending at a club here in Atlanta when I came to visit, and he looked like death. So then it hit me. I was like, oh my God, is he sick? And 10 years passed, and then I got sick.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Because you gone,
almost over 15 years.
You gone 10 years at that point.
Yeah, at that point, about 10, yeah. Total, it's 15 years. I didn't come back here in 2004, and I left in, 08. No, I came back in 08, I left in 94.
All right, so I tend to keep these videos about 23, 24. And
it's 21 now. That's good. Let's leave them with something.
Well, a couple questions though before
leave
we
them with something.
run off about Detroit. How was your lifestyle in Detroit?
My lifestyle from the time okay, let me put it to you this way. Since I've stopped drinking within the last 4 months, my lifestyle has been hectically destructive up until the last 4 months. Within the last 4 months, I'm telling you people, this alcohol and these drugs had me so... I almost lost everything at one point. Actually, I did. I was living and I was homeless at one point.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But up to this point, from childhood till now, I've had the most clarity by not having any type of substance abuse in my body.
Working at Ford, making 6 figures a year.
Yes, I was.
Oh, maybe working full-time job for years.
And I was a functioning drunk and alcoholic and dope addict, for lack of better phrases. But yes, I was a functioning, going to work, but at the same time dealing with cocaine and alcohol.
All right. This is the first video today. It is Monday, August 22nd. We're back in a few minutes to finish this conversation. Monday, August 22nd, the year 2022. I'm sitting with my good friend, Tommie Jackson. We've known each other since 1992. I've been
about 30 years.
For years. We got our ups and downs.
Of course, who doesn't?
Friendships ain't always good. Sometimes I want to throw mama from the train.
Well, I have thrown mama from the train.
Okay.
That's why she looks like she does. I'm gonna throw that bitch again in a minute.
We had issues. We had some issues. Do you think, and then we go to the next video, do you think the drinking and drugs had an impact on our friendship?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. How you gonna bring me to tears? Because not only your friendship, but I have literally lost friends behind my actions.
Your behavior.
And my behavior.
You think your behaviors were bad, huh?
Oh yeah, it was off the chart. And I admit that. But unfortunately, it's an uncontrollable act when you're under the influence. It is an illness. Any types of substance abuse is an illness. And once a person gets a handle on it, that's the only way it's gonna go away.
I took you to Miami for what birthday was that?
Oh God, 2 years ago maybe.
But how old were you at that point? I can't remember.
I'll be 60 in a couple of months, so maybe 50, 58, 59. 58, 59. Probably 57.
Oh boy, the trip to Miami. Do you remember that trip, honey?
Oh, absolutely. It was a horrible.
Doozy. Anyway, so we'll be back in a few minutes. Today is Monday, August 22nd. The year is 2022, and we'll be right back in just a second.